Hello and welcome, Rangers. I'm Joe, here with me is my co-host Dan.
Hello and greetings.
Today we've got another shot-for-shot analysis for you all. This time we're going to be dealing with the Rangers' landing. We're just going to mostly do it all in one take. Might as well, this will speed these videos up along. We're introduced to the one kid, I think Kevin's his name. He ends up acting a little smarmily with his dad, complaining that about his dad having embarrassed him when he tried skydiving and landed in the parking lot rather than the designated location that they had intended. The father just laughs it off, a carefree guy. So the portrayal here of father and son is a rather positive one. The father's a single father. Obviously his wife's not in the picture for some reason. The kid is taken to Tommy as a big brother figure and evidently hero worships him. As we see over the course of the movie, he's very close to his father, despite him kind of taking him for granted at the start. As for the dad, he's obviously a doting parent and treats Tommy rather more like a cousin or something. That's not to say it's cold, it's just he treats him like a cousin or a nephew, and there's a warmth there. It's more like he regards Tommy as a fellow man rather than a boy. Even though at the time of this storyline, Tommy can't be older than 16 or 17. So there's obviously some respect there. The first to come in for a landing, with the announcer obviously being rather bombastic about it, is Adam Park, and of course, as they're basically going to do it from him to Tommy, from black to white. Then we've got Billy. In hindsight, Adam, who's the shyest character on the team, then Billy, who's the formerly shyest member of the team. So we do have a transition there. Billy, in some ways, is a smarter Adam, but also a more developed character to an extent, given that he had an entire season to develop his character. Adam, on the other hand, did have a lot of really good characterization, mostly as the shy romantic character who wants to break out of his shell and wants to have fun. He does try. In a few episodes, he kind of hangs out and plays around with Tommy and Kim. At the same time, Kim in some ways is much more open to childlike events. It seems like Adam doesn't want to be left behind, and that there is a childlike side to him in a positive way. He's often seen with Rocky and Tommy, who love working out, or rather more masculine. So deep down, there is a masculine side to Adam, as we see later in Zeo and Turbo. Then we've got Kimberly, who weirdly did have a kind of shy side in season 1, especially in regards to Tommy. I think we're almost going from shyest to least shy to an extent here. To an extent. Though, in Kimberly's case, she's someone who acts in some ways an older sister to Adam, but she often acted like weirdly almost a twin sister to Billy, with Billy often trying to encourage her to explore her cerebral side and her trying to encourage Billy to explore his more social side. You almost get the sense that her and Tommy were keen to invite him at one point to hang out with them so that he wouldn't feel left out, as Jason, Trini, and Zach were often off doing their own thing at one point. Although later, with the Stone Canyon Trio introduced, Kimberly often intermingled more with Aisha, while Billy liked to hang out with Rocky and occasionally Adam. And he did hang out a few times with Aisha quite a bit. Kimberly appearing here does work us.
If we're going to do this in this specific order, with Adam first, with Billy and Kim next, you'd think they would be reversed because of the order of transformation. But here, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah. Next up is Rocky, him ironically being more shy in Zeo at one point. Earlier in the Mighty Morphin era, he wasn't insecure. It's just that in Zeo, he went through a character arc where he felt overshadowed by others. In this season, though, he's the cocky, laughing Tolkas style character, for those familiar with Tolkien. Possibly one of the greatest fighters and a very strategic mind, but he's always laughing and enjoys a good brawl. The next up is Aisha, who I don't think anyone could describe as shy in any way. Aisha is, franchement, the most boisterous character in some ways, more so than even Zach. Zach, his boisterousness was always to hide an inner uncertainty and insecurity regarding his masculinity, given that he was in love with Angela, and yet he struggled to overcome his own fears and doubts regarding whether or not he was adequate enough for her. Whereas Aisha, there's no such doubts. She's everything she appears to be.
Probably wanted the most air out of everyone else.
Then there's Tommy. Now, initially, Tommy was probably almost as shy as Adam, and even Billy was at the start. But him appearing last shouldn't be considered undermining the order of events here, as I think it's rather he's the leader, and he's the popular character, so he has to appear last with the grandest entrance. There was every bit of an attempt in this movie to make him cool. So they largely succeeded. On the other hand, and him appearing last with that surfboard is simply there for coolness. And the reality of Tommy as a character is that he is cool. The later reunion episodes he appears in, the way he moves is rather more reminiscent of, say, Mace Windu from the Star Wars prequels. There's an air of competency and power about him, and almost even regal majesty. And no other Power Ranger seems to move quite like Tommy, with the same confidence, grace, and power. Arguably, Tommy's probably someone who could clear out entire teams at a time with little paramount difficulty. Once he's in his prime, that is. At present, there's still a bit of the uncertain boy in him in this movie, but he's growing into the confident leader that he'll one day be renowned as. Fred ends up approaching Tommy, very, very excited, with Tommy having done the landing perfectly. This charity event is apparently one of many that the Power Rangers always do in the series, as they were all adrenaline junkies who like to excite themselves with dangerous activities, but also participate in local charity to help others. On the other hand, Fred approaches Tommy to congratulate him, and Tommy thanks him and says, hey, maybe sometime you could join us up. At which point, Freddy gets excited because he's a little kid, but he's not the sort of boy to be scared by jumping out of a plane. So that this sort of excitement is the natural reaction for a young boy. They're eager to test their limits and break past restrictions and just have a good time. Fred's dad, though, is very worried for his son and says, we'll talk about that, maybe in 10 or 15 years.
Which might imply Fred does get in trouble.
Well, you can tell he's a troublemaker. Tommy, for his part, just laughs it off with Fred's dad quick to shake his hand. The other Power Rangers end up rushing over to congratulate Tommy on his landing, and he thanks them and congratulates them right back. And it's at this point that, of course, it's Billy who notices Bulk and Skull haven't landed and gets a little worried, which, given that they bullied him in season 1, shows how the relationship has progressed and how Billy considers them friends and wonders, has anyone seen those two? We've got to bear in mind how close they nearly came to jumping out of a plane without a parachute. Then Aisha, of course, laughs it off and suggests that Ernie's offering a free lunch, so of course they probably landed on the roof to his juice bar, eager for food, as both Bulk and Skull are gluttons.
And who could blame them?
Then in the next shot, we see Bulk and Skull jumping out at long last, with the two of them immediately screaming for their mommies. From there, the scene will shift to the Rangers' exploration of Angel Grove, which we'll deal with in a later video. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to smash that like and that subscribe button, as though you were Billy taking out an ooze monster. And remember, Rangers, may the power protect you.